Hey, welcome back. We get talked about my journey with weight, losing, gaining, somewhere in between. How I told you got stuck in a rut once I hit my 35s, 40s. How I tried a few things and some of them seemed to work. So keto was one thing, like I mentioned last time, it worked. I work in data personally. I mean, if there is no data, it didn't happen. So this week I had all the data and I collected them, tried to make sense of it. I'm not a doctor, healthcare practitioner, or any kind of professional. Based on what I know, what I've seen with my own data, I try to put things together back to show you what worked, what didn't, and what I think can stick. So let me get started and show you. So, like you can see here, I tried three different experiments. One of them was a lifestyle, right? I'm a lacto-vegetarian, raised a vegetarian, born and brought up in India, have a traditionally carb-heavy diet, and that obviously did not work. That's why I'm here. I tried conventional keto, have some numbers, I'll show you. And then finally, trying to look for something which is much closer to my roots, something which is easier to me, no learning curve, and something that I can sustain or is sustainable. Three different experiments, three different data, and one of them can stick around. So let's see which one it is. So again, my normal vegetarian diet did not work. Kept my glucose going on a roller coaster all day, most of the night, even if my last meal was hours ago. Typically, that diet included cooked grains, lentils, cooked vegetables, oils, nuts. But again, that wasn't working. Is what my CGM data tells me. So I use it along with my whoop to see how my, this is not really blood glucose, my interstitial glucose, the way it behaved, which I believe is indicative of how my blood glucose fluctuates throughout the day with my standard diet. You can see here that there's a spike in the morning, even before I woke up. I usually wake up at like 5:30 in the morning, and you can see my glucose starts spiking at 4 a.m., which was curious. And based on what I've learned on Google, ChatGPT, Claude, people online, YouTube videos, this is, I think, what is called a dawn syndrome. Your body is getting ready to wake up, get ready for the stresses of the day. So the liver kind of dumps a bunch of glucose into your bloodstream, get the system ready to deal with the day. And typically on my regular, usual diet, I don't eat a breakfast until about 11, 12. And that's usually leftovers, a sandwich, sushi, what have you. And you can see as soon as I ate my first meal, glucose starts spiking. I was at a point where I believe that even if I sniffed something remotely carb, my glucose would rise. That's what I thought. Then it goes down. You see the usual roller coaster, glucose spikes, insulin kicks in, gets down the glucose. If the food is already digested, it remains there. If not, it goes on a roller coaster. If I go for a run, walk, glucose rises again, just because, again, maybe it's the liver doing its thing, dumping glucose into the body, helping the muscles get going. I usually have a heavy dinner. Typically, that's my day. Breakfast, some lunch, and then have a proper sit down family dinner. And my dinner consists of a large plate of rice, traditional Indian bread, a lot of cooked vegetables. You can even call them overcooked lentils, a heavy plate, right? I usually don't have my dinner past 6 p.m., 7 p.m. max. You can see that it's a heavy meal, takes a while to digest, and the glucose keeps spiking, rising up and up and up and up, right? So it's one of the dinners where I skip desserts. If I had a dessert on ice cream, a sweet or something, it would probably go past 140 even. That's my typical day on my typical Indian carb-heavy lacto-vegetarian diet. I finish my, dinner at about 6 p.m., but you see the roller coaster effect goes on all night. And that's because heavy meal food is getting digested probably in batches. So a set of food is digested, glucose rises, insulin brings it down. The next set releases glucose, insulin rises, goes down. And at about until 2 a.m., I'm digesting food. And this is interesting because I thought, hey, I am doing intermittent fasting. I'm finishing my last meal at 4 or 5 p.m. I should be good, right? But no, the kind of food I'm eating, I have an after effect for hours after my last meal, which I did not know. And the proof is right here. Look at my recovery, super stressful weeks at work, get a lot of sleep. I think I got maybe 4, 5, max 6 hours of sleep. You see, my HRV is low, relatively speaking. I'll show you other numbers where it can go much higher, but this is very low. Recovery or the sleep performance is 74%. That means I didn't get much of a deep sleep, as my WOP reports. I was tossing, turning, not much REM, not much deep sleep. Resting heart rate is pretty high. It's in the low 70s, which is not good. That means, yeah, I'm sleeping, but having restless nights and everything else remaining equal. This is about what I ate for my dinner. Typical carb heavy, lacto-vegetarian diet, sleep resets everything. I wake up, I'm energized to the extent I can be, cognitively pretty active, and also I'm a morning person. The afternoon progresses, the roller coaster effect of glucose insulin starts, my energy drains, and by evening, I'm anxious, feeling despondent, and then my nights are restless. And that's has been a cycle for the past 6, 7, 8 years until I tried keto, which worked. For me, it was almost miraculous, right? Day one, day two, when I cut down my carbs, though I still have cravings, I haven't gone into full nutritional ketosis, but still I start seeing the effect immediately. So if I show you the curve here, maybe 1 or 2 days after starting the low carb, high protein, high fat diet, you see my glucose is almost a straight line, right? No spikes, no red lines by Lingo CGM. Seems almost straight. This gives me constant energy on a carb heavy diet. After 6, 7, or 8 p.m., I can't think anymore, right? I have brain fog. I can go through the day, I can stay awake, but I can't do anything productive. On this conventional keto diet, what I noticed is that after maybe a week or 10 days of doing low carb diet, when I'm finally in ketosis and my morning numbers are like 1.0 ketones measured with my Keto Mojo, feel energized, less anxiety, less depression. If the day is stressful, I have constant energy. And even at like night, 9, 10, I can stay awake. I can do something productive cognitively, think about things, reason about things. Except for something I noticed, this is just one graph, but I've seen it over different bouts of keto I've done, that my Down syndrome is kind of elevated. Though it doesn't spike, the sugar blood glucose, or in this case, measured by CGM interstitial glucose, is elevated more than normal. Like usually if my morning glucose is 110 on the conventional keto, it's like 115, maybe even 120. And it doesn't come down. There's so many theories out there. I'm not a doctor, so I won't tell you what's happening or that what's happening, but this is what I've noticed. So this works, right? So what's wrong with it? Why not just continue doing it? Right, tell the reasons, right? Look at my numbers. Look at my sleep and recovery numbers. They're awesome. It's 51 compared to 44 on a conventional carb-heavy diet. Heart rate is much lower. It's in the mid-60s rather than the low 70s. Sleep efficiency is a whopping 91%. Again, this happened to be one of those low-stress weeks at work. Nonetheless, basically, conventional keto, energy levels are constant throughout the day, no ups and downs, no anxiety towards the end of the evening, and then my sleep much better, right? So again, the question, why not continue doing it? When the results are excellent, stable energy, low hunger, restful sleep. Why not? What I found is being raised a vegetarian, it's kind of difficult for different reasons to stay in conventional keto diet, doing a high protein, high fat diet. Saying the high fat without the fiber doesn't agree with me. Emptying happens much more often, much more violently, if I may say so. Then the food groups are unfamiliar. I'm used to eating certain kind of foods, and then the kind of foods I eat, they're unfamiliar, which means, yeah, I am satiated, I'm not hungry, but again, I'm not satisfied because my tongue is still craving a certain kind of flavor, a spice, or a flavor profile. Also, not enough fiber. On a conventional keto, high protein, high fat, I have to be conscious of how much fiber I consume, supplement with psyllium husk. I have to consciously either eat multiple salads with every meal, as in a salad with every meal, or take chia seeds, stuff like that. But again, the more important thing for me, it's not sustainable. And I had tried it a bunch of times over the last 2 years, but I couldn't continuing, is because of the profiles. While it's out there, she's eating samosas, and now I'm craving that flavor. And I can, because obviously samosas are deep fried, high carb food, but I miss the flavor profile. So I was looking for something which was closer to home, closer to what I'm used to eating, but hopefully which could also sustain me. So that's when I started chasing to Ayurveda. Being an Indian, having a grandparents back in India, they had a different kind of diet, different kind of lifestyle altogether. Generation were mostly white collar, going to office kind of jobs. Their diets changed drastically. Lifestyle also changed drastically. And then when I adopted that diet and moved to the West, moved to the US, certain foods were not available in this country, and I was not sure. As in, is kale a replacement for amaranth? Can I cook dal with kale? Not sure, didn't know that. Eventually, I discovered I could cook lentils with chard. But again, the point here is I skipped out on a certain kind of foods. So from grandparents to me, I was probably eating like 25% of the kind of foods they ate. So I went back to my roots to talk to surviving relatives, see what they ate, and then I changed my diet to a pure vegetarian. Again, when I say pure vegetarian, not vegan, but typically lacto-vegetarians. That means I do have butter, yogurt, ghee, no milk, because milk does have a sugar response. I can't have milk, even whole milk. That kind of diet, my the kind of foods I was eating increased. I was eating raw vegetables, tart fruit like lime, mangoes, lettuce, cucumbers, vegetables, eggplants. I noticed barely gave me any glucose response. Cauliflower, broccoli, gourds, mushrooms, proteins, tofu, soy chunks, soy milk, almond milk, macadamia milk. I could do dairy. I could do full fat Greek yogurt. I could do paneer, string cheese. And also, I had to supplement on my protein. Typically, vegetarians minus lentils. Again, you're missing out on a good food group that gives you protein. So I was supplementing using the zero carb whey protein isolate. Certain nuts, macadamia, Brazil nuts, almonds, pecans, sesame, hemp seeds, oils, right? Extra virgin olive oil for salads, avocado oil, ghee and butter for cooking, oil, MCT oil, having raw coconuts, avocados, where it has been made with all the fats I needed. Finally, creatine and zinc glycinate. Two supplements I'm using. I'm not even doing a multivitamin. So my diet consisted of 100 gram protein, 150 gram fat, and easily 35 plus grams of fiber. And then the way I was cooking was an Indian kind of flavor, using the kind of spices I am used to: mustard, cumin seeds, turmeric, garam masala, cumin powder, things like that, red chilies, green chilies, bell peppers, the kind of flavor profile I'm used to, minus any kind of grains or lentils, like no dals, no rice, quinoa, sorghum, buckwheat, what have you, right? No grains. But still, this was, again, I felt was very sustainable from a flavor diet point of view. I know how to cook these kinds of foods. Wife knows how to cook these kinds of foods. So together we can cook, plan our meals around, so we don't have to learn something new that we're not used to. Not feeling hungry, satisfied because flavors are familiar. And I'm not skimping out on anything, not on the protein, not on the fats, not on the fiber. The results were amazing. The results were equally good. So if you look at my glucose curve, it looks exactly, almost, if not exactly, similar to conventional keto, right? This is a tiny evening spike. This is one of the days where I took a evening shower, and for some reason, a hot shower. It looks like the system goes into a shock because of the heat or something, and the liver thinks I'm doing something stressful and dumps some glucose in my blood. Again, just a guess, just some speculation on my part. But again, this wasn't anything. It was just an anomaly. Other than this, if you look at my curve, it was almost flat. Were there any side effects? No, it was good. The flavor profile was good. I was not going to sleep hungry. I wasn't craving samosas because I was eating the familiar profiles. The measurement on ketones was lower. It was barely in nutritional ketosis. I would barely hit a zero 0.5 on the keto meter. Didn't matter, because end of the day, all the benefits, right? I don't know. I mean, if insulin was in control, I can't say that without measuring it. But glucose was obviously under control. Then I was happy. I was satisfied. And if I look at my recovery numbers, recovery was great. It was one of those stressful weeks where I probably had like 4 to 5 hours of sleep. And in spite of missing out on sleep and stressful work week. My HRV was good, resting heart rate was great, and the sleep performance was above average, right? My conclusion is if I compare my traditional carb heavy diet, definitely doesn't work. Many spikes, too many red lines, redlining my system, not good. Obviously, I have hypertension, cholesterol, and pre-diabetes. Conventional keto probably works. People have proven it works. Helps you control a few things, even reverse a few things, but not sustainable for me. The vegetarian middle ground I found, which was high fat, can't say things today, fat diet, worked. I have results to prove. Haven't gone to my annual physical yet. No, last physical was in April. I just started this vegetarian middle ground diet. I'll follow through with it for a few more weeks, and then maybe in 3 months' time, I'll go and get a physical done, check my numbers, and see if my cholesterol came into control, if my triglycerides came into control. Again, honestly, I'm happy because this diet works. It really works, and I'm happy I found it. Yeah, I may not be nutritional ketosis, but doesn't matter because the main concern is controlling these glucose spikes, having constant. I'll keep testing things. I'll come back and report to you. Not everybody needs to invest in a CGM, but if you have some kind of smartwatch, an Apple, Android, a Whoop, or Fitbit Air, Garmin, whatever, right? Measure your sleep, change your diet, and see what works for you. Again, a disclaimer, this is just personal experience, not a medical advice. What works for me may not work for you. I know my conditions. I spoke to my doctor before starting my diet. So again, be sensible about where you are in your health journey. All I'm trying to say is experiment. What works for someone may not work for you. Every one of us is a snowflake. Again, I'm sure you'll find something that works for you with a bit of measurement, a bit of trial and error. So with that, I just want to say thank you to listening to me. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of my keto journey.